Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday night edition of Legend from the Past and the Future show. And Deneen, how you doing tonight, Deneen?
I am doing great. I mean, I love these Wednesdays. I mean, a couple reasons. Obviously, we get to get on and talk to people in the community, but also it's the middle of the week and I'm almost closer to the weekend.
I know that's right. We got a super stud that's gonna be on tonight. He went to the wrong school, but we're not gonna hold that against him. But you know what? He deserved his flowers because he was a true legend. Before bringing him on, Deneen, what did you think about last night's Cavaliers Knick game?
Oh my goodness. Now, okay. So, in case you guys didn't know, like I coached up to the high school level. I started out with my kids and coached up to high school level. So I'm a little rookie coach, a little young coach. But the one thing that every coach should know, that if you lose a game, you better not have no timeouts left. Because if you got timeouts left, then you didn't do everything you could do as a coach.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
simple as that. So that's the first thing, right?
He tried to justify not calling timeouts. Can you believe that?
I mean, that's like such an amateur. It's an amateur. That was an amateur mistake. That's the first thing. So he didn't stop any runs. And then the other piece, I guess I'm going to give it to him. The other piece was the Cleveland was tired. I mean, they came in on the adrenaline from the other game, and then they were tired. So I mean, that's just what happened. So I mean, I'm excited for the Knicks. I think the Knicks gonna win the next game. And I think that this might go 6 games. I think Cleveland will win a couple, maybe a game or two, but I feel like Knicks are in a good position right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that Cleveland will make their adjustments and bench Harden. Harden is what killed them last night.
Ate him up. Oh my God. They started targeting him. Like, okay, you know what? Give me the ball. I'll find him. If you see him, put a pick on him and put a pick on somebody so I can get to him, so he can get to me, so I can just, oh my gosh, that was terrible. He looks so helpless out there.
Man. Well, you know what? We're not gonna delay the process because we gotta put this guy under the firing squad. We gotta he you know what? I'm not even gonna play games. Coming to the stage is the legendary Arundel High and Morgan State alumnus Mike Lyons. Mike,
hey, I'm here.
Welcome to the show, my brother. Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. Sent out a lot of emails today, trying to invite family and friends to participate and join the podcast. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. It's good to have you here. I'm glad you accepted the call. And everyone that's out there that's on YouTube, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the show. Now, Mike, on the Legend Show, what we do, we travel back and come forward. So tell everybody where you were born and raised.
All right. So I'm a product of a military family. And so I was born in New Jersey, but I lived mostly in Maryland and California. But I grew up in Maryland from middle school to high school. And then I went to Arundel High School, graduated in 76, got a scholarship to Morgan to play football and to wrestle. And I did that from 76 to 1980. Went down to Durham, North Carolina, was an assistant coach under Lattimore. And I coached at North Carolina Central University for a couple of years, got that master's degree, went out to California, hung out there for 20-some years, got my doctorate degree, coached football, coached wrestling, coached my daughter's basketball team, my son's basketball team. And then in 2011, I decided to come back home to Maryland. And so I came back in 2011, worked with the Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and retired 2 years ago. And here I am today.
Okay, so now, was there anybody who you looked up to while growing up that was pretty influential in your development?
Oh, it would be my coach. It was Coach Heffer. Hefner. I don't know if you remember him or not.
Yeah, I remember
He's
him.
in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hefner. Yeah. He was a disciplinarian, and he was strict. You're going to do it this way, or it's not going to be another way. So he gave us tough love, right? Good coaching. He was very supportive, and he pushed all of his athletes. And to this very day, he was the guy that was instrumental in my growth as an athlete and as a student. It was Coach. I actually saw him back in October. We had our 50th reunion. The football team that won the state championship, we had our 50th year reunion, and he was there. And look, most of the guys showed up. They looked good. Most of the guys were thin, in shape. You'd have thought it was our 20th reunion, but it was our 50th.
You know what? 50 years is a very long time, man.
Long time.
What was your degree in?
So at Morgan, I majored in general psych. And then when I went down to North Carolina Central, when I was coaching, I was a graduate assistant. So I was fortunate to have my tuition paid, and I majored in clinical psych. And then when I went to California, I went and got another degree as a school psychologist from Cal State Hayward, and also from San Jose State. And then I got my doctorate in urban leadership to become a superintendent. I feel like I've been to school all my life.
It sounds like it. It really does, man. How did you, before I pass it over to Deneen, how were you able to wrestle and play football in college?
That was interesting. So when I went to Morgan, I was only weighing about 220, 225. And as any athlete playing Division I, Division II football, you lose a lot of weight during the season. So when the football season ended, I was weighing about 215, 210. And so that first year at Morgan, I dropped down to 190. So the season would end in November. Wrestling season would start. So for the first 2 weeks, I wouldn't be at practice. I would join them later. Now you got to remember, with wrestling, the season really don't get underway until after the Christmas holiday. So you have a Christmas tournament, and then you have your conference, and then you go into the big tournament, the NCAA tournament. And so for me, it was pretty easy because I had been wrestling and playing football all my life. So from middle school up until college, that's all I knew was, you play football. When the season was over with, you go right into wrestling. They complemented each other. So wrestling gave me a lot of strength, flexibility. So I could play football, same thing. So it worked out very well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Go ahead, Deneen.
Okay, good. Because just a caveat on that. So what did it take to be a successful student athlete? Like, what does that look like? I know it takes discipline. I know that's what everybody's saying, but what does that look like?
So if I'm being transparent, for me, it was the thought of not being able to play if I didn't maintain a minimum. I'm talking about a minimum of a 2.5. Mm-hmm. And so when I was in high school, my thinking was, at any cost, I have to maintain eligibility so I continue to play football and wrestle. So then when I got to Morgan, it was the same thing. You had to have so many credits, and your GPA, I think at that time, had to be at least a 2.5. I think now it's a 2.7 or 2.8 or something like that. So I didn't want to risk not being eligible for the next season because you lose your scholarship. And so that was my incentive. I wanted to play sport. That was the bottom line.
Did you miss a lot of parties because of it?
Sort of. Athletes are funny because, we practice all the time.
Right.
So, for example, at Morgan, practice would be over around 7, 8 o'clock. We would go to a dorm called Baldwin Hall, and we would just hang out in the parking lot, playing music, talking. The little ladies would come by and, we chit chat with them. And, it was always a party every night. Everybody wanted to be around the football team. And that was our thing. Get out of practice, go to the dorm, hang out in the parking lot. I was not big on clubs when I was at Morgan. That was not my thing. And so I didn't do the club scene. It was the parking lot for me. So
just hanging out. Well, out. So I see. So my son also was a graduate assistant to get his master's degree, which is really nice because there are no loans with that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice. I mean, I didn't even know that existed. So it's nice to know that it was happening before now. So what does it take to be a graduate assistant?
So what happened in my case was my coach Lattimore, he left and went down to North Carolina Central my junior year. So we had a new coach come in. The guy named Gerald Huggin had signed with the Baltimore Colts, and a couple of other guys had signed. I had a couple of tryouts. Your name is in the newspaper when you get cut. And so he had seen that. And he called up Gerald and said, would you like to come down to North Carolina Central and coach? Gerald called me and said, hey, Coach Lattimore looking for coaches. Would you like to come and coach down in North Carolina Central? And they'll pay your tuition. You'll be a graduate assistant. So in exchange, I would have to work in the psych department and coach at the same time. But to your point, I didn't have to pay tuition. So I didn't have to get a student loan. And we lived in the coach's office during that time as well. So we have free room and board. Right. And that's how I ended up at North Carolina Central coaching. And then 2 years later, I ended up playing semi-pro football for Durham. You remember this guy named Streeter? He had went to UNC. He was a punter and a quarterback.
Yeah.
He signed with the Washington Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
On the way back home, he got in a car accident and was paralyzed from the waist down. He was the coach of the team in Durham, North Carolina. And then we would come up and play Virginia. And a lot of the guys that I played with at Morgan was on the Virginia team out of Richmond. But Streeter was the head coach.
Did you have a thesis in your master's program?
I did. For me, it was the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like telling someone, this is what we expect from you. And because you put that prophecy on that person, they will respond according to what they think you want them to do. And so that was my thesis when I was at North Carolina Central.
I love that. That's definitely, I mean, I think, that a lot of that goes on now when people talking about manifestation, they're talking about, you need to make sure that you speak it and all of those things. Have you done anything with that further?
No, what ended up happening is when I went to California, I worked at a couple of school districts, low performance school district. And so at that time, there was this reform going on. What are we going to do with our students with math and language arts? And so they came up with this thing called the scripted language arts program. They didn't trust teachers to teach. Their thinking was, at your low performance schools, you have the worst teachers at those schools, right? So if you take that element out, their thinking was, we're going to provide you with a script. All you have to do is read and follow. And that's going to improve the language arts skills of our students. And so I was fascinated with that. Now, what's interesting, that was 20 years ago, approximately. That's exactly what they're doing now in all the counties here in the state of Maryland. They just call it guide, standards.
Right.
The teacher, when they do collaboration, they go to a meeting, they look at this book, and everything's in there for the teacher, the test, the question, what exercise they should be using, whatever documents they should be using. And that is scripted. That was the same thing I was looking at when I was in San Jose, California.
What do you think about that? Do you think that helps or hinders the teachers?
I think it both. You got to have some creativity, right? But it is true. They take the worst teachers and put them in the low performance schools. And so when you sit with a group of teachers and they're able to collaborate, they need that information. It's a lot that teachers have to go through. And so if they have to do it by themselves, it's just too much on their plate. So if they're able to sit together as a group and then plan out their lesson, that's the way to go. And if that information is already there for them and they just need to pull and pick and decide what they're going to teach during the week, that's the way to go.
Right.
And the one thing, to say this real quick, the one thing that I do appreciate that has changed the way teachers teach. Back in our days, you had to have a lesson plan. Every week, no matter what, you had to have this long lesson plan. And as a principal, I didn't look at those lesson plans. It was busy work, right? So if we went into the classroom, that teacher didn't have that lesson plan, or that lesson plan went on my desk on Friday, he or she would get a letter of reprimand.
Wow.
But now principals have gone away from it. They don't ask for lesson plan. They don't have to submit lesson plan. And by the way, that would take all weekend to write up a lesson plan. So that's the good thing now in terms of teaching. They no longer have to submit and write up these long, drawn out lesson plans. It's already done for them.
Nice. Okay. All right, Armand. So I just, Roger, hopefully Roger is going to see this on record and tell him I asked a few questions for him too.
now, Mike, you're married. You have children, right?
So I am married to Angelita.
Oh,
let me tell you how I met her, by the way.
Uh-huh.
I had just moved here from California. And I was approached by Anne Arundel County saying, hey, we have a position. It's an assistant principal position. We'd like to offer it to you. Now, I was already a principal back in California. And I wanted to move back to Maryland. So I said, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice. If I'm good, I'll get promoted in a year or so, and I'll move on. So this young man was, he was in the classroom. This teacher came out. She was screaming and yelling. This kid is still in my chocolate at my desk. He's elbow deep in my desk. I caught him. I said, all right, we'll suspend him. So I called his mom up and said, hey, your son's suspended. So she called me the next morning and said, do I need to come in? I said, yeah, you do. You need to come and sign these papers. And so she came in. I saw this young lady. She looked absolutely gorgeous, and put my suit jacket back on, fixed the tie, escorted back into the office. And we talked about everything but the suspension. And so his name is Waverly, by the way. He's at the University of Maryland. So Waverly said to his mom, am I suspended? Said, absolutely not. Send him back to class. Send him back to class. And so this was just a week or two before Christmas, I think it was. So her name is Angie. So Angie said, if you'd like to go to a Christmas party, here's a number. Give me a call. I said, all right. So I didn't call her. I didn't call her until Christmas Eve. And on Christmas Eve, she said, yeah, meet me at St. Joseph Church and we'll go from there. And so when I went to the church, she wasn't there initially. So I thought I got ghosted. So I was a little embarrassed sitting in church Christmas Eve, waiting on the date. She showed up, hand on my lap. At that moment, I knew she was the one. And so we go to the party, right? And I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, how can I get a little kiss real quick? That's what I was thinking all night. So I took a mistletoe and put over her head and got my kiss. And I went home. That was it.
Smooth operator.
Hey, you got to do something.
Well, it sounds like she was feeling you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But
you know what Mike did? He went back to his.
Oh yeah, she's been.
He went back to your.
She's been everywhere. They know her at Morgan.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I have 6 children actually. So I have 4 daughters and 2 sons. My son Mike played at MEAC High School football, and then he got a scholarship to South Carolina State. And so he lives out in California right now. My 4 daughters are living everywhere. So I have a daughter here in Maryland, my oldest daughter, Danielle. And then I have another daughter, Courtney. She lives down in North Carolina, Charlotte. And then I have another daughter, Kelly, lives in Texas. She just retired out of the Navy. And then my daughter, Bree, who's an attorney, she's moving back to California. She was living up in New York. She's here. She's here with me. I just came back from New York, driving her back down this way. And then my other son, he's a junior at the University of Maryland. So
Nice.
those are my 6 kids.
All right.
And I have about 6 grandchildren, all boys.
Oh,
All
wow.
boys.
Wow.
All boys.
That's
Yes.
great.
All boys.
You know, you and I, we talked about that.
Oh, that's right.
We
We
talked
did.
about that. I couldn't help on that discussion. Yeah, he got all boys and I have all girls.
About to say,
Just one. All I needed was
get them together.
My first 4 were all girls. All girls. And the last 2, boys.
Nice.
So now, Mike, you had a son that attended Arundel High School, right?
Mike, yeah. So here's the thing. I wanted to move back to Maryland from California because I thought Anne Arundel County was the best county. So I moved here with the idea of my son going to my high school, Arundel High School.
Mm-hmm.
So when Mike went there, I didn't tell him, what I had done and all that kind of stuff. So he comes home after that first couple of days. He said, "Dad, your name is on the board. Your picture's in the trophy case, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." I said, "Yeah." I said, that was back in 1976, 73 to 76. That was a huge mistake when I look back on it, when I reflect on it. If you have a child going to the same school and you have legacy there, it's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. And so he ended up going back to Meade High School and he flourished. He did very well. And he loved Meade High School. But yeah, Arundel was a little rough for him in terms of sports. He played football for Chuck. I don't know if you remember Markowitz or not. But he played.
I do.
Yeah, Chuck
I do.
Chuck played football during our time. He was there in 72, I think it was.
Okay.
And he coached, he was the head football coach at Arundel when Mike was there.
Okay.
And then Mike went out for wrestling, right? And I was trying to teach him how to wrestle, but Mike thought because he's a big guy, he could go out there, grab somebody, slam him, and pin him. It was just the opposite. He was getting slammed and pinned. So one day they had a wrestling match, and I was looking for him, and I couldn't find him. He purposely skipped the match because he didn't want to be embarrassed in front of me. And it was at that point I realized that it was a mistake to have him at the same school.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I was reading where you also ran track in high school. Did you run track in college?
Oh God, no. What I did in high school at Arundel was the field events, shot put, discus, that type of thing. But at Morgan, once I got finished with wrestling, you got to remember wrestling went all the way until March. So like November to March, I decided to. I wasn't interested in track.
Okay.
Yeah, track was not my thing.
So all right, before I give it back to Deneen, what prompted you to go after your doctorate? What was it, and how do you use your accomplishments to really help motivate your offspring? And how did you?
So how can I explain this? My dad and mom were not the most educated, right? My dad went into the military from the South, Georgia, and they were just trying to get away from that hard life down in Georgia. And so what ended up happening was, my feeling when I was in high school was, I really wasn't interested in going to work. I just wanted to play sports, right? And so when I went there, I majored in general psychology. And I kept thinking, I can do better than just a bachelor's degree. So when I got the opportunity to go to North Carolina Central, become a graduate assistant and a coach, it was at that point education kicked in. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna get this master's degree if it kills me, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get a doctorate degree. Now, why this is important is, as I start having children, you know, you talk to your children about this, and so all my kids end up going to school. We have one that Bree went to Spelman, and then went to law school up in Hofstra. Courtney went to the University of Charlotte, University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And then she went, I believe it was Duke, and she went and got her master's in finance and economics and all that good stuff. My oldest daughter, Danielle, went to a community college. My other daughter, Kelly, she ended up going to San Jose State University. But some Navy guy swept off her feet and married her and took her away. So, but it was important because I always tell the kids, a bachelor's degree is not going to get you anywhere. You need a minimum of a master's degree, and you really need to look at what you're going to major in and what is the pathway for you to be successful. What kind of income can you generate? Because the worst thing that happened to me was I thought you get a bachelor's degree in not school psychology, general psych, and you could become a psychologist. Again, I just didn't have that upbringing where someone sat down with me and said, this is what you need to do to be successful. And here's the pathway for certain jobs. But I explained that to my children. My son, Mike's a good example. He majored in economics, so he got that degree. So I'm trying to get him to go back and get the MBA before he spent too much time out of school. And that's what we preach to our children is you need to do better than just a bachelor's degree. You need to look at a master's degree or some type of professional school to attend.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, Denise.
Yeah, I understand that. And I guess you understand the concept that, you know, as a parent, you are the bar, you are the measuring stick. So so we need to go as high as we can, because then the kids will reach. They might not even get there, but they will reach higher than trying to reach us. Because if we stay down here, they're gonna try to, okay, well, if I do that, Dad did that, I'll do that. So they'll go for the minimum. So yeah, that's good stuff. Because one of the questions that I was going to ask was, do you believe that, because I know you were talking about your parents and how you really didn't have like the guidance that would have helped you to maximize. So do you believe that because you had already gone through a lot of the education processes, that made it easier for your children to be able to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Past experience, this is what you need to do in terms of applying, the application process, the financial aid papers that you need to fill out. All of that was important. Again, like my parents didn't know anything about that, so they didn't talk to me about that. And let me just kind of share something real quick about Coach Hefner, why this guy is so important to me. I was getting a lot of scholarship offers to play football and to wrestle. A lot of schools in Pennsylvania. He called me up, had me come to his office one day. He said, hey, look, I'm at Morgan State. I know the wrestling coach there, who's also the football coach. I'm going to come by, pick you up, and I'm going to drive you to Morgan State to meet the coach. True story. So he came by my house, picked me up. We drove to Baltimore. And you guys heard about the bridge at Morgan. There's a bridge there. So he takes me across to the bridge, and there's a group of students there, and they greet me and we talk. He said, I have to go to class. I'll be back in an hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that. So he introduced me to Coach. He said the same thing. His name is Coach Phil. He's in the Maryland State Hall of Fame for coaches. So they showed me around the campus. It was dark. It was a nice looking campus, and fed me and all that kind of stuff. So we came back out. My coach and Coach Phil said, well, what did you think? I said, I like it. He said, okay, well, if you want to come, you got a scholarship at this very moment. I didn't have to sign any papers, none of that. And I said, are you serious? He said, I'm going to get your name from your coach, your address, and your phone number. You're going to get a packet during the summer where to report. And so that summer, I was in the Maryland State All-Star football game with Donald Downs, or Duck. We were on the same team. And sure enough, I got the packet. It said to report to Morgan State July something right after the game. And my name was on the board. And, you know, everything he said he would do, he did that. But again, it was my coach, my high school coach, who put that in motion for me to get that scholarship. Now, I may have gotten a scholarship somewhere else, but that was guaranteed. It was on the spot, and didn't have to pay a penny for my undergrad degree.
You know what? I think that's a good point that you just made about the coaching, because I had to deal with that, like, kind of with my son, because my son was a student athlete, and how important it is to make sure that if you are a student athlete, that you are in a program that is going to nurture and help you grow, not just playing the sport, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes all the difference, right?
Yep. You heard what happened at the University of Tennessee with the girls basketball program? That Coach Kim Caldwell, some young coach they brought in, thought she was going to replace, I can't remember the legendary coach that was there.
Pat Summit.
Yeah.
Pat Summit, that's right. So they bring this little young woman in. She's 30-something years old, blonde hair and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
She was so awful with the basketball players. They all quit and transferred. Every last one of them. The ice on the cake was, it was senior night. Senior night. This one particular female was like the player on the team that everybody respected the most, that leader in your locker room. She refused to put the girl in for 30 seconds to play her last game. She didn't play not a second of that basketball game. The next day, the young lady quit. And then it was that domino effect.
Right.
So they didn't fire her. They're going to give her another year, and she should bring in some other coaches in. But coaching and the respect is very important. And so I have nothing but the utmost respect for Coach Hefner.
Yeah, I see that. And that's nice. I mean, that's so good. And I think that when you're talking to student athletes, I mean, that's one of the things that you have to push on the parents, specifically for parents in the underserving communities who haven't gone to college and they don't know those things. So this is good information for them to know that, you know, you need to make sure that it's not just about the sport and it's about your child. You need to make sure that they're going to take care of it. I was
fortunate too, because at the college level, everybody knows Coach Phil. Everyone. He's known nationally. The one thing he did for me was he took care of me. He put me in an apartment my freshman year. He made sure bills were paid. He was a good coach. He took care of the players that he recruited. And then when I came back and I graduated, I came back, you know, we would talk. He would look me up, and I'd been over to his house. I met his daughter, his wife. It was just family. So those are the two gentlemen that I have the utmost respect for.
Nice, nice. Now, you have held like all the positions in the education field, right? So which one was the most challenging and which one was the most, I would say, enriching or satisfying for you?
I didn't like teaching. Teaching was very difficult. Students come in, say things to you. You have to bite the bullet. You have to have tough skin. The toughest job I had was when I was an assistant superintendent. And the reason why that position was difficult, you're catching it from everyone. You know, you're catching it from the superintendent. You're catching it from teachers, parents. Now, remember, in HR, we deal with disciplinary matters as well. And so no matter what happens, it's not a win-win situation. Somebody's going to lose. It's not going to be HR. And so that position for me was draining, because there were some people who I really liked, but I had to do my job. I had to discipline them. Some I had to terminate. And it's just difficult. It eats at you after a while. and you got to treat people with respect, but you got to keep arm distance because you never know when you got to terminate someone.
Right.
The best job I had, I think, was when I was a counselor, because I get to talk to students, talk to their parents, work with them, try to get them into schools or colleges. That was the most rewarding when I was a counselor. And also, I got to tell you, I enjoy coaching. I really loved coaching. Coaching was my thing. I often wonder if I had stuck with coaching, where would I be today?
Right.
Now, when I was at North Carolina Central, you know how much I was getting paid for the year? $1,500.
Oh yeah, I did that. That's what I got paid. I got paid more than that at the high school level.
That's right. People don't understand that graduate assistants don't get anything. They get the tuition paid, yes, right? But it was $1,500 stipend that I received, and we lived in the coach's office above the coach's office upstairs. It was like a little apartment. But then again, you're young. I was 21, 22. I didn't have
learning.
No utilities. So it worked.
Yeah, well, my son at UNLV, he got $2,000 every month, so he was balling.
Yeah, he did well.
On top of tuition. So so you got to find the right program, right?
Yeah. But coaching was my thing. I have a way of relating to students. Now, the problem with coaching for me was Coach Hefner is a strict guy, right? When he was coaching, he yelled and he screams and, he may grab you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But hell, I was doing the same thing that was done to me. You get to a certain point, you can't do that anymore.
Right.
And I had to stop coaching. So I stopped.
No, that's true. I mean, I love coaching too. That is one of my favorite things is coaching the young kids. So that was one of my favorite things too. So I can relate to that for sure. But it's a lot of work. You're constantly working 24/7, right?
You are, and you're nervous, your heart beating. It wears on your health after a while. I had a parent, girl. I was coaching girls basketball one year, and the parent was in the stand. She was yelling and screaming. I turned around and said, "Shut the hell up, please." I called hell for that. And that's when I started realizing I can't coach because I can't control my emotions. And then my heart would beat all the time real fast, So I said, you know what? But besides, once you get into administration also, they won't allow you to coach.
Oh, right. That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, you're right though. As a coach, the hardest part about coaching it was at certain levels is the parents.
Yes.
Right.
The kids will listen to you. High school, college students, they all going to listen to you. So that was not a problem, but it's the parents and the mouth that comes with it.
Right. Exactly. Let me just ask you this last question about counseling though. Do you think that in today's schools that counseling, what is the role of counseling in today's schools? And do you think that it's going in the right direction or do you think it's going in a different direction or in the wrong direction?
I think they got to go back and really look at what is the purpose of the counseling department? How are they going to support students? What's the end goal here? For the most part, I think they do have it right, but it depends on what school you're at. I have a problem with certain counselors because they just don't do a service to our students. They're there to get a paycheck. But if you get the right counselor, their purpose is to make sure they support that student in the classroom, outside of the classroom, at home, wraparound services. If they're going to college, make sure those letters of recommendations are in, those transcripts are in, FAFSA forms. All that is supposed to be in. And most importantly, if a student has an issue that needs to be discussed, that counselor is supposed to lend that ear and it's supposed to be confidential. So you got to establish that trust, right? That student has to trust that you're going to listen and you're not going to judge them, regardless of what it is, whether it's drug related, right? Whether they're first time having sex, whether they're having a drinking problem, their parents are beating them, whatever it is, they have to trust that you're going to listen to them. Not necessarily, it's funny, a lot of times students will come to you and they'll say, my parents are beating on me, but I don't want you to call CPS.
Right.
And then you have to explain to them, now that you have said it, I don't have a choice.
Right.
So what I would do ahead of time,
Yes.
I would have to explain to them, as a counselor, I am obligated under certain situation where confidentiality will be breached. And I will give the example, so forth and so on.
Right.
They would understand that. And then I would explain to them, by telling me this and by getting help for you and your family, that might keep someone alive in your family, your siblings or whoever that might be. So
wow.
I think it's going in the right direction. I just think that there's certain counselors that should not be counselors because they don't give it their all. And I think this is an important position. Yeah. Now I'll tell you a position that mirrors counseling that I think is very effective is your social workers. Your school social workers do a damn good job. And here's the reason why. They're not confined just into the school. They go to the home. They go to the home, they go to the hospital, they go everywhere. Whereas the counselor is only at the school site, only. Whereas social workers, they're all over the place.
Oh, that's good. That's good information.
Yeah.
Armand, I'm going to ask this one more question because it kind of goes with that, and then I'll pass it over to you. What do you think? What do you think schools often misunderstand about students' mental health?
That's a good question. Schools try to understand students' background, right? So if you're at a low performance school, most people get it. Poor kids come to school, maybe a single parent home, may not have a lot of food, may not have clothes, may not even can get to school because the parents can't get them up in time or whatever the case might be. So at low performance schools, I think they get it. I really do. I think they get it. The problem with low performance schools, the expectation is too low, right? They're thinking it's because you have all these variables, education is not that important. Now, at your high performance schools, they overlook all that. They don't want to hear that you come from this type of family or you lack books, or you can't afford a computer, a laptop. Even though schools have done a better job now, they provide laptops to all students. So, and when I was in California, in San Jose, in Palo Alto, they provided free internet as well. So students didn't have to pay for that.
That's
so
big.
Slowly but surely, they starting to really understand. Students come to school with a lot of problems. You have no idea what happened to that student the night before. He or she could have been, abused by their parents. They could have been sleeping in the. That was something that breaks my heart when what they call the McKinley something Act for the homeless. When you get a homeless kid, right? He or she's in a shelter. That shelter may not be in the city where the school is located. It could be in Baltimore City. That kid's coming to Anne Arundel County because this is their home school. Right. They got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get that bus to come all the way to Anne Arundel County.
Wow.
Yeah, that kid gonna be sleepy in the classroom. He's gonna be tired. Yes, he's gonna try to take more milk and ice cream and so forth and so on. Some people don't like that, and they'll just jump on that student and say, "Hey, you stole, you did this, you're sleeping in the classroom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." So teacher will always shoot back. Well, how did I know? How would I know?
Right.
Well, you should have been going through that student's CUNE file. You should have been talking to their counselor or social worker, or come see admin. We will provide that information for you.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to move over to Armand and give him a chance because I could ask you questions all night. I'm so interested in education.
That's pretty much what Deneen does. So she handles all the questions. We end up asking about 2 questions apiece. But I'm gonna we're gonna talk briefly about your affiliations and recognition, your legacy statement. But before doing that, I just want to, when my son was being recruited by Southern Illinois University, the head football coach asked the high school football coach, would you allow your sons to be babysitted by AJ? So to me, that was a question of character.
That's
so
right.
What do you think about that?
I like that question.
Yeah.
Here's what we tell teachers, right? If your son or daughter was going here, would you want this teacher to be your son's teacher?
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
And
right.
If the answer is no, that speaks volume.
Right.
Right.
Or
would you want your son or daughter to attend this school?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised the answers you get. No, they don't, because they know there's some shortcomings, at the school. Everybody wants their child at a high performing school, because if they get good grades coming from a high performing school, it's kind of like a ticket to colleges, best colleges, actually, your top 1%. And that's what they look at. At your low performing school, that's where your issues are, in my opinion.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, now your affiliations and recognition. What is that banner that's on the wall behind you?
So in 1977, so I grew up in Odenton, right? And there was this guy, Craig Battles. He was on Arundel's basketball team. He was D'ing up Dale Solomon. So his brother would come back from Morgan, and he had a horseshoe in his arm. We didn't know anything about Greek letters at the time. So we would say, hey, where you get that from? He said, a horse kicked me on my arm. That's how naive we were back then. So when I went to Morgan, I saw the purple and gold. I liked the way they carried themselves. I did a little research. And then at Morgan, you got to be a sophomore. You got to have 2.5 at that time and all that good stuff. And so as an athlete, they were looking to bring in more athletes into the fraternity. So damn near 56, 70 guys apply. I was the only athlete that got selected to become a member of the Lampados Club. True story. I was the only one. Everybody on the wrestling team applied to become a member. A couple of football players, they too applied to become members. But I was the only one that was selected to be a member of the Lampados Club. Now, we had a guy named Alan Rose. We call him Red. He was frat. So he would take care of me during the season while I was pledging. He made sure nobody bothered me, made sure I ate, and so forth and so on. But that was the best thing I had done at that point, was to become a member of the Mega Psi Phi fraternity. And then I continued that, became a life member, and then I became vice boss of the chapter called Zion Nu in San Jose. And then I was selected as the Omega Man of the Year. And so, so now I was with LGG, Tall Pie, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm waiting on my son to pledge. I'm waiting on that legacy for Mike to pledge.
Right.
Yeah, his grandfather is an alpha, right? I know the grandfather's an alpha. Alpha. The two uncles are alphas. His grandmother's a AKA. That's right. But his mother is a Delta. Okay. And his sister is now a Delta as well. So the Greek fraternity and sorority is a big thing in the family.
So we'll see, right?
You will see. I'm waiting on Mike. I'm waiting on Mike. Yeah. Now, my other son, he's more of a Kappa.
So now Wow.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a Kappa.
You know what? You said that you were the only athlete. You said that you were the only athlete that made it, right? So I would say you probably was bench pressing around 500 pounds, right? and they felt intimidated.
Yeah.
Pi chapter is different. Pi chapter is not intimidated by anyone. anyone.
Okay.
You know, there were moments I was trying to intimidate, but it didn't work. Put it that way. It's a good chapter. It's a good chapter.
So this is what we're gonna do next. Okay, I'm gonna let you talk briefly about your legacy statement. All right. Deneen is gonna say what you have to say to you. I'll say what I have to say to you, and then we're gonna allow you to close it out. But before we do that, I have to mention tomorrow night at the Annapolis High School award ceremony. Congratulations to Jasmine Perry. She is receiving a Legend from the Past and Future Show scholarship. Congratulations there, and I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
And before you close it out, again, I know most of your legends are from the Annapolis High School. I don't know if this guy named Sam. Oh, okay. Sam Johnson is on or not. This guy was one of the best ball players and citizen that I've ever met. Good guy when we were in high school. He was a DB, right? And he was outstanding. He got a scholarship to the University of Maryland, played 4 years. I forgot the
College Park?
College Park. University of Maryland, College Park. I think Jerry Claiborne was the coach at the time. And he got drafted and went to Detroit, had a knee injury, and that was the end of his career. But he's overlooked in Anne Arundel County for his athleticism and what he accomplished on the football field. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Well,
so you can just provide us with his information.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I recommend it, and we will definitely reach back to him.
Okay.
And we can give him his flowers.
Sounds good.
So now, sir, just talk briefly about your legacy statement, and from there, Deneen, then I'll say something. And
all right. So my legacy statement is that my life and career reflects excellence in athletics, scholarship. Say it again.
No, go ahead.
Scholarship, educational leadership, mentorship, family service, and community commitment. My journey from Arundel High School to Morgan State into a distinguished career in education represents a legacy of discipline, perseverance, leadership, and service. That's a hell of a statement. What I mean by that, to get to this point, you have to sacrifice, you have to give up a lot, and you have to be disciplined in your life choices and decisions. And you have to trust in God that you're making the right decision. And when you get knocked down, you got to be able to pull yourself back up and keep it moving. You got to reach back and tell people, this is my story. This is what I did in terms of what I've accomplished. There have been some issues on the way. So if I can get to this point, you too, you're going to have some failures, right? But you can, pick yourself up and you can keep it moving. And that's what I think. So when I'm in a school setting, I talk to our kids all the time about moving forward, not become stagnated and just sitting around the city doing nothing. I always encourage them, I don't care how low your GPA, you need to go to a college. I don't care if it's 4 years, 2 years. I prefer 4 years, because if you go to 2 years, you may stop and not go and finish. You need at least a master's degree, in my opinion. And that's what I'm known by students, is that I'm always preaching, you gotta go to school, get that piece of paper, and never look back, just move forward. And then when you get to a point in life where you feel pretty comfortable that you've done something, reach out to someone behind you and lift them up. Tell them your story. How did you get there? What were those pathways? And then have that person do the same thing. I ran the boys club when I became a Mega Man of the Year in San Jose. We started a Mega Boys Club, and that's exactly what we did. And it was after Joe Marshall. I don't know if you guys know Joe Marshall. He's known nationally. He had the boys club and San Francisco did the same thing. And then they would give scholarship to these kids to go to college. Then those kids will come back and share their stories with high school seniors. And that's what we were doing in San Jose. So I just think it's important that we have to get back to our community, especially like young people, given the violence and the killings and all that stuff. You got to get back.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I did want to.
You got one last thing.
Yeah, one last thing. I did want to just acknowledge that you were the chairman of the San Jose Human Rights Commission, because that kind of goes with your statement. And so we know that that kind of connected you with the community, right?
Yeah, that was an important position, the Human Rights Commission. I forgot what year it was. I want to say in the 90s. That's when profiling was huge during that time. San Jose City is the 9th largest city in the country. People don't know that, right? African Americans made up 1%.
Wow.
1%. But we were stopped more than any other ethnic group besides Hispanics. And so I was elected to be the chairman of that committee. And I work closely with the police chief to figure that piece out. Why is that happening? And so we put some policy in place. When at that time, a police officer could stop someone, they didn't have to record it. Now they have to record it, write down why they stopped and what was the infraction, and the outcome and so forth and so on. And so I do think we had some impact on police profiling in San Jose during that time.
I love that. Yeah.
And it was important because every time we turned around, we were getting stopped.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I mean, that's something that as long ago as that was, that's something that we still need today. We still need, an organization that is protecting our people, right? So, okay, I'm going to stop.
Bowie, real quick, Bowie. The police officer in Bowie who shot that young man, he said it was a cell phone. Oh, you guys haven't been following this. Mm-mm. So there was a young man, he had a cell phone. Police officer in Bowie shot him. So the district attorney charged the police officer. And people were upset. They were saying, well, he didn't know. He said, well, how are you going to shoot an unarmed man?
Right.
The verdict came out today. He was convicted of attempted murder. Now, if the parents had not pushed this, that young man could have, yeah, absolutely. That's why this kind of stuff is important.
Absolutely. And again, we need these organizations. We don't have much time left, but I did want to give a shout out to Dale Solomon, because you mentioned him a couple times. Dale Solomon was drafted by the 76ers. So I just wanted to put that out there to just give him a little,
Yeah. Didn't he have a brother? It was two of them, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Younger
he did.
brother.
He had a brother.
Yeah.
He had a brother. Yeah. He wasn't as talented, but he did play.
I thought Dale went to Virginia Tech.
He did.
He did, but he got drafted. He got drafted by the 76ers.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
Yes, he went to Fork Union. He went to Fork Union, from there, Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Yeah, she does, man. She does. Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we allow you to leave something encouraging, all right, just to let everyone know, come back next week. We're gonna have Pastor Karen Johnson on the show next Wednesday. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be another powerful show. So come back next week, 8:00 on you, Mr. Lyons, Dr. Lyons. Something encouraging that you want to leave with all our viewers out there.
So again, I just want to say to friends and family, I appreciate you. I appreciate the support over the years. I reached out to all the football players at Arundel High School. They were encouraging. And so just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. And I love you guys.
All right. Don't leave yet. But everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. come back again next week for another exciting show. But before Wednesday, we have the sports talk show on Friday.
That's right. And then
on Sunday,
right.
we have
and then
Miss Deneen, co-host of We Are Better Together.
Yes.
That's right. Come back Sunday. And then
very nice.
Monday, we have the Truth Show. And I think this Tuesday, we'll have Melissa Nata Pryor and the Health and Fitness Show. This is Tuesday. So come back next week. Come back. All right, come back Friday, come back Sunday, and come back.
Join us.